Hello, my name's Jonathan from Mental Help, and over these next few videos we're going to look at a 4-step method to improve our OCD and to learn to cope with it. And this does actually work. That's the microwave. That means dinner's ready. Basically, the 4-step method is a proven method that many people use, and you are able to self-teach yourself coping strategies by using this. So the good news is that if you suffer with OCD, there is a cure. No, there isn't a cure, but there is a way of learning how to cope with it. And that's what we're going to be looking at in these videos. It's a fact that cognitive behavior therapy does work. When it comes to OCD, we use something called ERP, which is exposure response prevention. It's common sense. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to understand or to teach yourself how to do this. You just have to have a few fundamentals in place. 1, a little bit of discipline. 2, the desire to improve the situation that you're in. And I suppose 3 would be to actually persevere with it and to see it through. So if you are going to struggle with those, then just carry on suffering with your OCD as I had been until I decided to pluck up the courage and the stamina to actually persevere with this. And now I've started to see some results. That's my microwave again! Right, that's it. So basically, you can learn to be your own behaviour therapist. But to do this, you have to understand clearly that OCD is a medical condition that does respond to treatment. And by understanding this, you will learn new ways to master your OCD and to be able to cope in the future. And we do use cognitive behavioural therapy. Cognitive is the Latin word to know. That's what it means to know. And when you are fighting your enemy, which in this case is OCD, knowledge is key. You have to understand what your adversary is to be able to defeat it, or to be able to deflect it, or to be able to cope and manage it. Under the umbrella of CBT, we use ERP, which is exposure response prevention. And this is proven to work. It's been working for over 40 years for people. And more recently, there's more scientific proof to say that it definitely does help you learn to cope with OCD and to deal with it. And also, your brain is neurologically wired and it can be changed. It's not a fixed thing. You are able to learn new methods, new ways of coping, ways of overcoming phobias, fears, issues. But to do this and to be successful with ERP, you have to expose yourself to uncomfortable things that you might not necessarily enjoy. But by doing this over time, you learn to harden yourself, harden your mind, and also change the way it actually works. I don't understand fully exactly how it all happens. I just know that it has happened for me. Some of my OCD demons I'm now able to basically cope with. And it's really, really very satisfying. And I want to share that feeling of satisfaction with you. But it isn't easy. It does take time. But you can do it in your own time. You know, you haven't got to go headfirst in and, jump in the deep end. You can take it bit by bit, and I've done it gradually, and I've managed to overcome some of those things. So stop beating yourself up about OCD. It's not your fault. It's inside your brain, and your brain can be retuned and rewired by practicing different methods. And there's lots of examples in your life where you have learnt different things, maybe instruments. You've learnt how to, read and write. Most of you have. So a quick example would be that if somebody struggles with contamination, then they would be, through the ERP system, instructed to sort of like hold something dirty in their hand for maybe 5 minutes and then resist the urge to wash their hands for so long a period of time. By doing that, you are hardening yourself, and you are also, by going through the awkward feeling, you are also reaffirming to your mind that nothing bad is actually going to happen and that you are able to cope with it. And this gives you strength for dealing with lots of other things in life, which I'll talk about a bit later on. Exposure response prevention is learning how to prevent yourself from doing your normal compulsions and to replace those with something more positive or more constructive or different to take your mind off of it. for a period of time while your mind is able to reprogram itself and to understand that the awkward or bad or negative feelings that come in do not actually hold any power over you. You can beat it. And what we are trying to do is to use a 4-step plan to conquer and help us cope with the OCD urges, and also to realise what the actual urges, the thoughts that we get, I must do this, I must do that, I must touch that, I must wash my hands, what they actually really, really mean. Or reassurance is another one. Why am I actually asking for reassurance? Why am I doing these things? Sometimes the more sane the OCD sort of compulsion that comes up, the more we're tempted to believe it is actually us needing to do something, a genuine thing, like check a lock or ask somebody for a bit of reassurance. But generally OCD, whether it is a sensible OCD or whether it's turning the light off 17 times, it's always something that's neurological. It doesn't actually make sense, and we need to see it as something that doesn't need to be done, just that our mind feels that it must be done. But we need to live through that awkward feeling, take it in steps, get better and better and better at doing it, and also back up our decision not to do the awkward feeling by using some facts and common sense that we've already got to tell ourselves. Like, the door doesn't need to be checked 17 times, the light doesn't need to be checked, and we need to put a period of time in before we actually do give into that compulsion, even if it's just 5 minutes. So don't go back and check, don't do whatever it is. For 5 minutes, time yourself and tell yourself you can do it after the 5 minutes. But after 5 minutes, you quite often find that it has alleviated a bit, and that's encouraging. And the 4-step program isn't new. It's something that many people use. You can find it online. It's just basically common sense.